Βεβαίως.
I see that we have 4 participants.
No, είμαστε 11. Αυτοί που είναι αυτή τη στιγμή connected, και αν περιμένουμε 5 λεπτά ακόμα θα είναι περισσότεροι.
So, gentlemen and ladies in the audience, I cannot see your faces. I see numbers there. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this afternoon we have a very nice session with 3 speakers, all of them distinguished speakers in their activities, and with a lot of accomplishments, both in the research area and both in the teaching area, and also in the administrative area. So we are going to have a very nice session, and I present to those who do not know Grigoris Prastakos, who is the star of tonight's seminar. And he is an old friend and colleague in the Athens School of Economics. We served there in the 90s and 2010 when I retired and so forth. You can see his accomplishments in the brief CV that has been placed in the page of Icabe. He is dean of the famous institute, Stephen Institute. At the time I was at the NYU back in the 1970s, Stephen's Institute was an institute where you could not get an admission to get your kids there. I mean, it was very, very difficult. You had to have very many friends there to get an admission. So he is dean in this School of Business of the Stevens Institute. He has done all his studies at Columbia University, and his Ph.D. is in a very critical area, operations research. But then he digressed a little bit and he went into the field of management. He has written volumes and volumes of research papers. I counted about 60, and also several books. And in one of those books, which is entitled Leadership Through Classics, I remember this book because I and a colleague of mine who has died, Anastasios Ioannis, gave a paper there, and it has been published. And the title of the paper is associated with management, the city-state of ancient Athens as a prototype for an entrepreneurial and managerial society. So, this paper has been quoted and cited extensively with the book. So, Grigoris, I am very pleased to welcome you and to pass the floor to you for your talk. And thank you for taking time out of your duties to be with us here. So,
well, thank you. Thank you very much, George. You are very, very kind, as always. It's a great pleasure for me to be here this morning, and I want to thank the organizers of this conference who invited me. I will talk to you about a very exciting project which I'm running these days, and it has to do with our job as academics and our sort of responsibility as academic leaders to develop curricula for our students that will be appropriate for the future they will be facing. And this has been a project that has been, it's a very collaborative project. A lot of schools are involved, as you will see, and it really addresses the core of the discussions that take place in business schools today, which is how do we prepare our students for the digital era? And, you know, the digital era is here. COVID, if anything, showed how critical digital is for us to continue our life, to continue our operations, to continue our education. And the future is going to be even more digital. than what it is today with the invasion of artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotic automation, and all that, you know, sexy language that everybody hears. But people wonder, are these parts of the curricula that we teach to our students? So what I'm going to talk to you is has to do. I did a little research about what we call technological unemployment or automation anxiety, and I found an article of the New York Times back in 1928, which says, "Much of the machine makes idle hands. Prevalence of unemployment with greatly increased industrial output points to the influence of labor-saving devices as an underlying cause." Okay, and it just says that a few days ago, the General Motors Corporation reported the largest peacetime earnings ever made by a single concern in the history of America. 3 days later, Governor Smith made public report from the New York Industrial Commissioner, which called public attention to serious unemployment throughout the state at the time when American prosperity has become an international sensation. Okay, that's in 1928. Okay, and John Maynard Keynes was worried about the technological unemployment because the technology is reducing the jobs and increasing efficiency. In 1940, an article again in New York Times, "Does machine displace men in the long run?" And that was a point of debate between President Roosevelt and Dr. Carl Compton, the president of MIT. And that debate basically said that President Roosevelt said that that we have not yet found a way to employ the surplus of our labor, which the efficiency of our industrial processes has created. And the MIT president said that, yes, there is some unemployment happening, but there are many new jobs created. We move on to 1962, another head story. 200,000 jobs a year are lost because of automation. We go to 1980, a robot is after your job. 2017, again, talking about New York Times, will robots take our children's jobs? Okay. 2018, how can you raise robot-proof children? So this question, this anxiety about automation has been around for a long time. And that is exactly what we face today with artificial intelligence. And the digital era is challenging many of the traditional management assumptions. As a dean and before as the rector of AUEB, I'm very much aware of what's happening in a number of fields in business. So you can see from this table, which is taken by a book that I really like, there are a lot of changes in the concepts and the assumptions of management. We used to think about customers as a mass market. Now we think of customers as a dynamic network. The firm was the key influencer. The firm would sort of send the advertisements and would influence the tastes and the behaviors, purchasing behaviors of the customers. Now the customers are the key influencers. We all know when we buy something on the internet, we look at the likes, we look at the comments, and these are very important factors when we decide what to do, where to go, what to buy. Marketing was used to persuade purchase. Marketing now is used to inspire purchase, but also loyalty and advocacy. We want our customers to advocate for us. Competition used to be within defined industries. So you would have the hotel industry competing with each other, the hotels. Okay. Now, this is not the case. Competition is very fluid across industries. You know, Airbnb did not exist in 2008. Airbnb was created in 2008. Airbnb now has more beds and a higher capitalization than many of the hotels that we know. Competition used to be a zero-sum game. I win, you lose. Now competitors are competing, but they are also collaborating in a number of key areas. Data was expensive to generate and to obtain. Data is continuously generated now. You know, with the Internet of Things, all the sensors will be generating all kinds of data. And the challenge of the data was to store it and to manage it. Okay, we used to need, high, very expensive machines, disks, etc. Now, data is the challenge is not to store it. The challenge is to turn it into valuable information. The effort was on producing excellent quality products. Now, the effort is that plus innovation, and so on and so forth. A number of ideas that existed are now not valid anymore. So, and digital is the catalyst of change. Okay, at an exponential rate, digital technologies are disrupting traditional business processes. And it's not a matter only of the IT function. It has to do with all aspects of business, strategy, operations, finance, accounting. But understanding how digital technologies can be leveraged for business is a critical skill. Okay, but only 5% of the CEOs say that they are digitally ready. Okay, and in addition, with changes in the lifestyle, where now the new old is being defined at the age of 80, so we got a long way to go, all right? And with the need to educate and upskill the workforce within the developments that are happening so fast, there's a big change happening in education. The key technologies, that's a nice slide from PwC, are, actually this is a 2016 slide, so probably it's a little outdated. But you can see here Internet of Things, robots, drones, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, blockchain, virtual reality, augmented reality. All these are essential technologies. And welcome to the digital era. Okay, the digital era defined by data-driven decision-making, by artificial intelligence, by new organizational forms, and by strong feelings of ethics and the very importance of cybersecurity. All of these are very important, and they are all driven in the digital era. So we need to think our business curricula. There is no doubt that there is need to include more IT stuff in our core curriculum. Okay, so when I talk to colleagues, they say, yes, we have a course on Python, we have a course on Tableau. We introduced coding for the MBAs. We talk a little bit about the cloud. Okay. Of course, these are important, but is that enough? And does that affect, these are some tools, okay? You know Python, you know Tableau, okay, these are very critical tools. The employers really want them, but you leave the other courses the same? No, you have to change them, right? So there you see courses developing in marketing analytics. And if you do marketing analytics, do you need also to know specific tools that companies have developed, like Google Analytics? And should you offer these as part of the curriculum, or should you organize boot camps, special labs that the students will learn it? And should that be at the MBA program, or should also include at the undergraduate? Where is the end of this? Okay. At the end, if you think about it, and I talk to my colleagues, there is only 24 hours in a day. There are 7 days in the week, and there's a specific curriculum that the student has to take. If you keep adding courses, something has to go out. Okay, you cannot just keep adding knowledge. So these are very important questions, and then there are other questions also, which is not related directly to the hard stuff, to the curriculum. Okay, if you think about the AI reality, okay, what other skills do you need to give to the students to be competitive? What is the mindset and the skills needed? Should they be more innovative? Should they learn to collaborate in a more flexible way? I mean, COVID showed that we need to be very flexible, right? And we need to be able to collaborate remotely. But how do you organize a team which is remote? How do you exercise leadership? How do you inspire a vision when you don't know your boss? How do you inspire your vision when your boss is a machine? Okay. Do we need to harness our students' intuitive thinking? Because business is business at the end of the day. Huh? If you talk about businessmen, they got this great intuition, but they also need to enhance their critical thinking. Another issue is about data. If data is everywhere, all kinds of data, including personal data, should we develop courses on IT governance, on IT ethics and privacy? And how can our students be prepared to face the pressing ethical issues that arise when machines control or share the decision-making responsibility. At the end of the day, how can traditional education be blended with the needs for education in a world of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and robotic? So that's how our project started. MACURE stands for Management Curriculum for the Digital Era. It is sponsored by, this project is sponsored by AACSB, the organization that accredits schools of business. Very, very powerful and extremely important organization in the US and the world. And it is financially supported by PwC. The leader of this project is Stevens. I am the principal investigator. And the objective of the project is to examine the management curriculum at all levels, undergraduate, graduate MBA, discipline masters, and make recommendations. And the way we did it is we started with creating discipline-specific task forces and some horizontal. So here you are. MACURE is composed of 9 task forces. Oops. Did I lose something? Can you see my slides? Hello?
No, it's not the correct one. Probably you get out from your presentation. This is not the one, no.
Yeah, I see that.
This is your internet, actually.
Right. Is this
Grigori,
okay?
Start from the beginning. Start from the beginning.
No. Delete this and upload the presentation again.
I don't know how to get out of this now.
It's an X. Somewhere in the middle is an X. So click the X. Get out.
How many slides are there, Grigoris?
I think that he click on the upper right X, so is get out from the MS Teams.
He got out because we lost him also.
Yes.
Grigori, do you hear us?
No.
I don't think he is connected.
He's out.
He's out, yes.
Probably he should start from the beginning. Okay. Grigori, press stop sharing. Go to the upper arrow and press stop sharing and start all over again.
It doesn't give me the option of stop sharing.
Close your, start from the beginning. Close the whole session. Close it. Can you?
Ναι, αλλά εμείς πώς το βλέπουμε αυτό, αφού είναι έξω τώρα.
Έχει παγώσει. It's a freeze now.
Ah.
It's a freeze. He has to get out and then connect again.
Επί τη ευκαιρία, επιτρέψτε μου, για να έτσι τρέχει λίγο, είναι εξαιρετικά ενδιαφέροντα αυτά τα πράγματα και νομίζω κάνουν address τόσα πολλά ζητήματα που θα βοηθούσε πάρα πολύ να μην υπάρχει αυτή η ανησυχία, θα έλεγα, στον κόσμο. Και έτσι θα γίνει πιο ήπια και η μετάβαση σε όλη αυτή τη τεχνολογία που τρέχει.
Κύριε Ταχματζίδη, το 1974 μας έδωσε το National Science Foundation, εμένα και του Φριτς Μάκλουπ, μας έδωσε 300.000 ένα γκραντ, $300.000 επί 2 χρόνια για να κάνουμε μία μελέτη σχετικά με τις επιπτώσεις της τεχνολογίας επί της απασχόλησης. Σας δείχνω ένα βιβλίο που βγήκε από εκεί, από αυτή τη μελέτη. Ο τίτλος είναι Progress in Assessing Technological Innovation. Αυτό που βρήκαμε, και είχαμε πάει πίσω στους Luddites του 1844 που σπάγανε τις μηχανές για να αποτρέψουν την ανεργία. Okay, let me, because we may have people in English, let me talk in English. So we did this study and we found that technological innovations created some sort of structural unemployment, short-term structural unemployment, but over the long haul, the generations of technology that we saw in the last 200 years did not create long-term unemployment. And in order to take care of the structural unemployment, nations created the unemployment insurance, created institutions to take care of those people in old age who could not adjust themselves to the new technologies. So as nations, we have responded to allow technologies to come into the system, shock the system, create some short-term unemployment, take care of those who are caught in the old ages, and allow these shocks to create the new waves of employment. This is going to create a new series of waves of employment, different professions, different skills, Some workers who are between the 45th and the 55th or 60th year of their age may be trainable, may be retrainable, may be retrained in the new skills, but not everybody in those ages is capable of being retrained. So they will be pushed into the retirement or do some different professions.
Yeah.
May I say a comment, because you have excellent participants in that. I was wondering though if it is not much appreciated or even embedded by the public, then if this could be quite like obliging people or forcing people, and then there could be maybe questions of social unrest or even questions about democratic processes. This is maybe something could be expected because it seems to be always happening too fast. But of course, technology will go ahead. That's a good thing to happen in any case.
I may remind you of the following. In centrally planned economies of the yesteryear, in the Eastern Europe, which control the rate of change, they stayed far behind technological change. And this was a prime source that destabilized these countries, and the system they had established from 1917 to 1992 was demolished because the system could not adjust to the waves of technology. What do we do? Lefteris, what do we do?
Can you hear me?
Of course.
Yes, we
Okay.
will.
I don't know why I cannot share the screen.
Doesn't matter because Grigoris, we
Can
don't
you-
have much time. We don't have much time. Please give us the key messages
So, as I said, there is a number of 9 task forces with about 15 to 20 schools participating in each of them. You know, I'm sorry I cannot show you the slide. It's a lot, more than 100 business schools all over the world. And the leaders are, you know, Case Western is leading the Information Systems Task Force. Northwestern Kellogg is leading the Marketing Task Force. Imperial College in London is leading the Finance Task Force. IIM Bangalore is leading Strategy Innovation. Wharton is leading the Cybersecurity Privacy, and so on and so forth. There are 3 phases. The first one is complete, and this is an overview of what schools have been doing. And it's impressive what schools have been doing to address this challenge. I don't know, I don't think that universities know what each one of us is doing. But just to give you a flavor of what's happening in marketing, there are 4 basic buckets of interest that have shown up because of digital. Number 1, there's a whole bucket of courses, workshops, etc. on digital marketing tools. Okay, there's a second bucket on marketing analytics. There's a third bucket on communications, branding, and CRM, which is completely revamped because of digital. And there's a fourth bucket of ethics. How do you promote? How do you advertise? How do you handle privacy issues? So these are 4 buckets. And there's a number of schools that have developed and are pioneers. And in this study, which is going to be finalized actually by the end of November, the task forces have, the way it works is the task forces prepare their studies. They've done the surveys, dug into data, etc. They prepare a report, and then Stevens is basically reviewing it, asking for changes, and then we're consolidating. This consolidation report is going to come out sometime around the end of November. But just to give you an idea about marketing, you know, new programs at the undergraduate level, like NYU Stern has developed a track in digital marketing. We at Stevens have a major called Marketing Innovation and Analytics, or the University of Missouri, an undergraduate certificate in marketing analytics. All kinds of things are happening. When you go to the MBA level, again, Kellogg has developed a pathway, data analytics pathway, or the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, an MBA specialization in digital marketing. Then you look at the specific marketing masters, masters in marketing. And Rutgers is offering a master's in digital marketing. EM Lyon in France is offering a master's in digital marketing and data science. At Stevens, we are offering our master's in business intelligence and analytics, and there's a concentration in marketing analytics. There's a lot of explosion of programs at the executive level, marketing executive programs, a lot of offerings there. And then the study goes in and looks at what are the courses, what is the content of the courses. One of the things that we found is that the area of ethics and cybersecurity is still underrepresented. Okay, that's not still a strong point, and schools are struggling with this. How do you infuse these topics into the curriculum? And the general observation is that there is a digital divide. If you look at our faculty, you know, assistant professors bring new skills, you know, but they have tenure in their mind. There's software, but the software is expensive. Data may be expensive too. There's a systematic revision of undergraduate offerings versus some opportunistic design of graduate offerings, because graduate is really bringing the revenue at the school. So where do you put your emphasis? And there are some certain regional differences between North America, Europe, Asia. This is something else. And there is some effort which is very innovative across a number of schools where they are rethinking everything. You know, University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign came up with an MBA which is completely digital in collaboration with Coursera 3 or 4 years ago. Boston University is completely revising their MBA for the digital era. So a number of recommendations that the task force came out was focus on strategy, focus on open source software, because otherwise it's becoming very expensive. Teach coding. Coding is the new language of communication. You know, we need to teach our students coding, and teach ethics. very important for the society of tomorrow, for them to know what is the right thing to do. Okay?
Grigoris.
I apologize for the technical difficulty, but I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
This was a wonderful presentation, Grigoris, and I am astonished that this effort takes place on a worldwide scale. And the diffusion of knowledge to that extent is going to produce a lot of value added for people who could not expect to have this opportunity. Yeah. I have only one question and a suggestion also. The problem of coordination of this effort may be tremendous. So you should pay attention to the coordination problem because it's the project is scattered around many countries, around many business schools, and you run the risk of losing control of the project. So thank you very much for this effort. I got a lot of information, and for 5 minutes probably we can open the discussion to the audience. Just 5 minutes only, because otherwise we'll get out of our schedule. Okay. Please, any questions?
George?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Prostakos, for the wonderful presentation, although we miss you on the way. But anyhow, we understand what you are talking about, and it is very important. I want to ask, do you take into consideration the characteristics of the young generations? They are regarding leadership, they are not so good in leadership, especially millennials and the Z generation. Is that a kind of was a kind of a cause leading you to redesign the whole curriculum in business schools?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a very, very important question, and it's very pertinent to what we're doing. There is a big difference between millennials and our generations, or the generations in between, in the sense that they have learned different. They have been born, in a digital era, and we all give examples of our kids, communicating with the machine continuously or with their friends instead of calling them on the phone. So all of this is there, and we need to adapt. We need to take in consideration this way of learning and accommodate our programs this way. On the other hand, we need to create ways that we will develop new leaders, and we need to make sure that the values that they have are the values that we believe are for the society of tomorrow. There's an important study that took place at Stevens. As a matter of fact, I was part of this study, and it was published in the Journal of Business Ethics, about the values of corporate America. And right now we're conducting another study looking exactly at this issue. What are the values of the millennials and the centennials? And there are some differences. They are not big differences, so I'm happy for that, but there are differences. And you probably would expect that with all this that has happened and with COVID that has occurred, some of the values have been realigned, have changed. So these are all matters that indicate that we need to be wary and we need to be careful about how we carve the curriculum, how we carve the experiences of the students, how we carve the university life, and that's all extremely, extremely important. Hopefully, some of that will come out of the study, but this is a huge topic, so there will still be more and more to do.
Thank you, Grigoris. Thank you very much for your presentation and the discussion. And if there is any other question, we will proceed to the second presenter, who is Ramona Apoga. who is a professor in the University of Latvia and chairwoman in that department with many years of experience and many contributions to academic journals and a lot of work in the promotion of editing of journals. She's editor in 5 journals, I understand, and if there are any PhD students following us, they should take note of her. Need to talk to her. So Ramona, welcome, and please take the floor. We are all ready to hear your presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for such kind words. So I will continue the topic we started in first presentation. And I'm really honored and also delighted to be with you virtually and to be able to share and discuss some of the lessons learned from the complex topic of digital transformation. It may sound overly apocalyptic, but these existential battles should come as no surprise. Over the last several years, our world has been leaning further and further into digital realm, largely thanks to a younger, more tech-dependent generation. The term transform or die statement appears clearly in every study, report, forum, and conference on how company can remain competitive and relevant as the world turns digital. The main takeaway of going digital is, if you are not online, it's like you don't exist. However, many business owners and managers do not understand what digital transformation means. The digital transformation term has become so widespread, so broad that it's confusing. Does using social media to promote your products or moving to the cloud mean you are in digital transformation? Yes and no. It depends, as term digital transformation can mean a myriad things to a lot of different businesses. Digital transformation is a journey, not a destination. It starts with the first step by creating a digital version of analog or physical things and leads to a shift in business activity, models, and competencies in order to make use of newly accessible technology, and it never ends. This process requires constant innovation and rapid response to change, as well as challenges and opportunities as they arise. So digital transformation journey begins with the process of transforming information from a physical format to a digital version, known as digitization. Digitization can improve efficiency if digitalized data is used to automate processes and make it more accessible. But digitization is not aimed at optimizing processes or data. Companies cannot embark on digital journey if they don't go through digitization first. The next step is to use digital technology to change the business model and provide new opportunities for generating income and creating value. And this is called digitalization. It is a process of moving to a digital business. Digitalization includes the process of adopting all business models to new technologies and decisions. However, digitalization improves rather than transforms the existing business process, transforming the process from a human-driven event to a software-driven event. Finally, digital transformation is an integration of digital technology across all areas of the business, revolutionizing the way you work and deliver value to your customer. Digital transformation is a process that changes the entire business model of companies and that need to be supported by an ecosystem, a dedicated digital strategy, and digital skills. It's also a cultural change that requires organization to continually challenge the status quo experiment, and get comfortable with failure. Digital transformation is multifaceted and involves the use and applications of a broad range of technologies for different purposes. So why do we care about digital transformation? Why we'll speak about it so much? So policymakers and the academic community believe the digital transformation is a key element of the progress and modernization of companies and the economy as a whole. So there are benefits for both industries and society. Digital transformation is not only a necessity, but also an opportunity for countries to increase their economic, social, and environmental benefits. Also, investing in digital technologies and capacities together with a circular economy can help create jobs and growth in the global race to recovery. So according to the Gartner Survey 2021 data, digital transformation will spur economic boom in 2021 as chief executives are betting on digital transformation, artificial intelligence technology, and corporate activism to help make it happen. As well, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, 5G playing main role in the future. While World Economic Forum believes that digital transformation has the potential to create great value for societies and industry, especially in automatic and logistic services. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown that digital technologies determine not only whether or not countries thrive, but also how well they are able to navigate trying times. Applied efficiently, digital technologies not only enable education and work to move from schools and offices to the home, but they also provide increasingly efficient ways to organize processes and companies and governments. New technologies such as 3D printing, augmented and virtual reality sensors, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and robotics also have the potential to disrupt nearly any industry. The competitiveness of nations and these technologies will determine how prosperous the countries will be in the decades ahead. So according to the Digital Riser report this year, the top digital risers in the G20 have been China, followed by Saudi Arabia and Brazil. India, Japan, and Germany came last. As we can see from the slide, China gained significantly in digital competitiveness, while the US lost out over the same time period, mainly driven by the ecosystem dimension. While in accordance with IMD World Digital Competitiveness Ranking, that measures the capacity and readiness of economies to adopt and explore digital technologies as a key driver for economic transformation in business. Government and wider society, the US economy is still leading together with Hong Kong, Sweden, and Denmark. However, the regional perspective is different. So Eastern Asian economies such as Hong Kong, China, South Korea, and Japan continue the persistent rise up the digital competitiveness ladder. North America registers a slightly declining tendency over the past 2 years, which is mainly driven by the sluggish performance of Mexico. Conversely, Western Europe experienced an improvement during the same period. Other world regions tend to be stable, with South American economies lagging behind in digital competitiveness when compared to the rest of the world. Also, this report confirms China's achievements, as between 2017 and 2021, the country has become a leader in many sectors, from the development of artificial intelligence applications to large public and private sectors. in fields like robotics, batteries, and electric vehicles. Furthermore, China was among the countries that swiftly reacted to problems brought about by the pandemic. Such a response has substantially reduced the negative effect of the COVID-19 crisis on its economy. So, what about industry and digital transformation? What are main goals of industry to go deeper into digital transformation? So we see such goals as workforce diversity, financial returns, environmental targets, and general revenues growth could be achieved more efficiently by leveraging advanced digital technologies. So let's see what industry has to say. Here we can see the summary of different reports. So according to Tech Republic, 56% of organizations say that digital improvements and innovation have already increased profits. Oops.
Well,
it's like computer changing themselves, but I managed to return, at least I see the same slides. I think someone has access to computer and changing slides.
I think so, because this
and I think it's a person with name Pellegrino.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Do
I control? I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Well, this has happened also previously. I think.
It's strange that I control your slide.
It means there is no limit, so everyone who is currently there can control us. Yeah, so there is no limits for hosts and guests.
I'm sorry, I thought that was
Ramona, just go.
Here you have 40% of companies won't survive in the next 10 years. So what's quite important figures if they fail to transform their business to accommodate the latest technologies. We see that 87% of senior executives believe that digitalization is an organizational priority. 39% of companies, of executives expect the most in 3 to 5 years will come from the digital transformation. And also we see that according to Deloitte, firms that have advanced digital maturity report 45% revenue growth compared with other companies that show only 15%. Also, according to Deloitte, 53% of businesses would need to revise their capabilities and skills. We see that 30% of jobs are likely to be automated by the mid-2030s. Also, data-driven companies are 23 times likely to acquire more customers. And finally, we see that 95% of digital leaders have implemented considerable cloud capabilities and continue to leave their competitors behind. And also 90% of new enterprises applications will use artificial intelligence powered technology in their products and processes by 2025. So to summarize, the industry is fully aware of and involved in the digital journey, but how far has it gone? So there is still a lot of work ahead. According to the OECD last research about digital transformation in 2021, as we can see that big data, e-booking, orders, supply, customer management, and e-commerce are still rather low. At the same time, small and medium enterprises lack in digital technology adaptation in all digital areas. Also, according to the Digital and Society Index, we see similar picture. Cloud computing, big data, e-commerce, and cross-border commerce are below 40% for large companies, while for small and medium enterprises, it's only 18% for e-commerce, and for sell cross-border online, only 8%. So digital transformation has gone from a boardroom buzzword to critical strategic priority, but we are still only witnessing the birth of digital transformation industry. Let us discuss the key trends that are set to shape digital transformation future. The first trend is connected with spending on digital transformation, and this spending will continue to grow. So global investment into digital transformation is set to grow at a rate about 17% per annum, reaching a staggering 2.3 trillion by 2023 of American dollars. That will be about 53% of all ICT spending. The biggest spenders in the digital transformation space will be the United States, followed by Europe and then China. However, with China predicted to overtake Europe by 2023. Financial services will see the highest digital transformation outlay of any industry. Still, enormous investments will be made in robotic manufacturing. It's focused to double within the next 3 years. The next trend will be connected with shift in focus from business to business towards business to customer. So business to business customers are starting to demand the same level of customer service in frictionless shopping they encounter in their business to customer lives. That's why business to customer sales will allow business to business businesses to provide Amazon level service to their enterprise customers. The next trend is that there will be significant opportunities in the Internet of Things. The number of Internet of Things connected devices is set to increase to 43 billion by 2023, according to McKinsey. It's almost a threefold increase from 2018. Due to the lower cost of sensor technology, Internet of Things represents a massive opportunity for the manufacturing industry, boosting production flows through enhanced visibility of shop floor and field operations, as well as manufacturing supply chain and remote and outsourced operations. The next tendency is artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence will play the main violin in the digital transformation orchestra. Artificial intelligence can dramatically improve profitability and empower employees to work more efficiently. Together with machine learning, it will revolutionize manufacturing and will fill the IT skills gap as well. And the last one, what I will mention, is 5G. Development will accelerate digital transformation, as it feels like we have been talking about 5G for years, but the full force of this new cellular standard is still a couple of years out. Once 5G hits, however, the impact of the digital transformation industry will be immense, driving rapid advances in smart cities, smart vehicles, smart manufacturing, and Internet of Things intensive technology hungry for 5G and its unprecedented data transfer capabilities. So leveraging new technologies to improve our current process will help us work faster and more efficiently. Sounds good, but it doesn't work all the time. We live in a time where digital technologies hold the key to reshape the future success of many industries, from the business management to customer experience. However, it's a common challenge for executives that employees resist digital transformation. Let's dive into the why and how to solve this issue. So there are several reasons, and I will mention only a few of them. The first reason is fear of losing status or job security. Employees do not like the idea that artificial intelligence or bots will now do their jobs. The fear that new technologies will threaten their jobs will cause them to consciously and unconsciously resist the changes. Another reason is a fear of failure. New technology usage also means new digital skills are needed to accelerate change. It comes with formal training and practice. However, many organizations fail on rolling out good planning for training and have high expectations of the new solutions. As a result, employees feel pressure to perform with a completely new tool that they do not know yet how to control. Also, the digital tools not proving their efficiency can be a reason. When the promised benefits of new digital solutions have not yet materialized, employees still spend a lot of time interceding. For example, many organizations adopted robotic process automation to automate tasks in customer service, human resources, and finance. Unfortunately, most robotic process automation implementation automate stand-alone tasks and still require humans to operate bots to complete a simple process. Digital tools that do not meet up with the promised benefits will cause employees to resist or not open up to future solutions. And as well as problem with seeing the bigger picture. Aiming to boost organizational performance through digital technologies, executives often focus on the specific technology. For instance, they think that organizations need to make use of artificial intelligence services or machine learning strategy. However, achievable goals, expectations,
Ramona,
execution plans are crucial elements for leaders to consider before deciding which digital tools they should adopt. Those lack of envisioning from leaders would lead employees to get frustrated easily with obstacles during the transition.
Ramona,
so to conclude, accelerating digital transformation will succeed when leaders focus on the changing mindset of the employees alongside the organizational culture and practices. The right strategy in advance will help leaders to choose a suitable digital tool. And most importantly, inclusive culture. All members looking at the same direction will drive digital transformation and not vice versa. So thank you for your attention, and let's remember that digital transformation is not driven by technology, but by people.
Okay, thank you very much, and too much information to process, at least for me, who I'm quite far in my thinking from this world of the digital transformation. Any questions? If I see any hands raised, I'll give the yes, Lefteris, yes.
One very quick question. Thank you very much, Ramona, for your presentation. Very interesting and well structured. I just want to ask you how far we are in Europe or in Latvia from digital transformation now. In other words, your projection in years, in 2 years, in 3 years, you will be ready to adapt all this information?
I'm doing currently research and I focus on small and medium enterprises in Latvia, and we made survey. So we see that we are really in the beginning, especially for micro companies. So it's really different, depends on the size of the company. So large companies already are quite well digitalized. But when we go to smaller size companies like micro companies, we see that they are really only maybe using social media and cloud computing. It's maximum of technologies what they are applying. And of course, this is not enough. But COVID significantly facilitated us to move faster, because if you cannot offer your products online, you lose your clients, you lose your market. And so you're out of the market. So you go digital or you go home. Like it's a lozen, yes. So companies that were not able to adopt and offer the products and services online disappeared during COVID. And of course, COVID pushed small companies and micro companies at least to do online, this e-commerce, online shopping. But we are quite, we are not, so I was leaders, of course, are China is really active in this market, and the leaders currently are American companies, but China is pushing Americans very fast and hard.
I have one question, but I prefer to put it to John Tachmatzidis, because I think he's more equipped to answer it. The question is this, and I put it now so that he can think of it while he will present his paper. All this digitalization is going to affect the human bonding, the humans among themselves. Is this going to destroy the bonds? Once I travel in Peking in the railroads, and I saw there everybody was with a tablet or a phone, everybody, complete silence. Nobody was talking to anybody. It was like a strange place. And I said, do we want to live, or the future generations, do they want to live in such a world? So, John, we all know John. He is a psychologist, psychotherapist, and neuropsychologist. I think we need his skills now, and more than any other time, because we are bombarded by all these digital social media, radios and everything, emails, fake news. We are going to go crazy. John has a lot of experience. He has worked in England, government projects in England, and he has got his Ph.D. in cognitive psychology and neuropsychology. I think this is the best fields right now to understand the world, because I think we are shocked every day with so much information that our minds cannot process it anymore. John, take the floor and enlighten us with your knowledge and experience.
Thank you, Professor Bitros. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. I could reply to your answer right now. This behavior that we see now could be defined as abnormal 20 years ago. Today, just has a question mark. In 10 years, it will be the new normal. So maybe we will need to change again the guidelines of psychology and what is normal and what is not normal. I may reply in that. We see the gap as well between the generations in how they appreciate technology. But all is all, I would say it's about, and allow me to start the presentation. Is it okay?
Yes, please.
Okay, so trying to implement in this economic conference, to implement psychology, we see all these wise people from economy, actually they appreciated very much morality, the motives, expectations, wishes, insecurities. People who are talking about animal spirits or behavioral economics. That's very interesting, because it's how we approach these things now. Slightly, we may consider them in a different way. One moment, because it appears that, okay, how we would approach that maybe. Of course, technology creates some changes now. Technology, as we see, could do many things to our lives. Also, it changed radically and very speedy all the tools we use right now. Personal, organizational, economy, society, environment, everything. Everything is in place and ready to change. So other people talk very much about this, what you need to change, just lightly here to show that, for instance, organizations, they need to change a variety of things. I don't think we are ready for that yet. The working modes, there is a lot of stuff in there, and how people are going to be accommodated. And then we have these maybe procedures with the housing, how we are going to clean the cities out or inside the old cities, about health security. The question is, are we proceeding to the end of megacities, and what does it mean in terms of using the resources? So in this case, another important change, just to appreciate my neuropsychology training, the size of the fonts. That's quite important. It appears that a lot of information is transmitted right now, a lot of information. So in a very speeding process. So for humans to understand, we need to process and understand the information and maybe make decisions and to decide if we would like to follow this or that. The size of the fonts is something that I would like to address it in this conference because it plays an important role. We see even the bottle, one bottle of milk having such information, and people cannot even see it. And I'm not talking about people of my age. So it's like nobody's interested, really, if what people are going to understand of that. So the size of the fonts is an important issue on how we are going to appreciate even technological advancement, because it may create information, it trains us just to proceed, even overcoming what information may say, and we just don't understand what is going on. We are going actually from our institute here to run a global referendum on this in order to support that nothing that's going to be read by people should be less than at least 11, the size of the fonts to be 11. I will take this aside. So what we are trying to do really, I don't have a reply. I will say my estimation maybe. Are we trying to humanize digital life? Or we just digitalize human life? If we go for the first, it's excellent, because you are going to upgrade and technology is going to advance and upgrade our lives. But what about if we digitalize human life? Who is going to fit in there? Possibly some people that may have profits, or at least we need to be sure that many people will be without that process. So how we work usually, and that's why I call it maybe psychoeconomics. We all have certain wishes and needs, and we have expectations that in the society we live, these are going to be satisfied. So I have wishes, needs, and expectations, and there is a framework that I demand from the others. The other could be a society or even the companies. We must obey to the rule of offer and demand principle. But on the other hand, there must be as small as possible a gap between the wishes and needs, the expectations we have, and the demands we request from whatever is on offer. I would say what actually leads me with this framework could be described as a communication process. I communicate things. And in terms of communication, we could say that there are the cognitive aspects of the communication, my ideas, my thoughts, and of course, my emotions. I would say that the tricky point is how we satisfy the emotions. Because it appears that people, first of all, just to say that emotions run faster than thoughts. Actually, 211 milliseconds, which means our body is ready for a reaction to a stimulus, whatever is the stimulus. So in this case, because emotions run faster, when I come across with a technological advancement that I may not understand, I have a body reaction that is faster than my thinking. That is very important because it may develop the framework if I'm going to accept or reject this information that comes to me. Emotions run faster. And if we reject something, at least in the first instance, this is because of emotions, not thoughts. As a psychologist, allow me to suggest that keep this in mind when you, you interact with your people. So, in a communication process, we have our internal representations. Of course, these may include our self-esteem, how we are set up in a place, or playing our role. And of course, there are internal states of the moment. I may be calm or anxious, or I have stress, and then I externalize my behavior. This is very important to appreciate it in terms of strategic management or even investment behavior, but more or less how the public thinks about all these technological advancements. If things do not go well, then we have this process, the series that you see now on the screen. So we have an event, a stimulus by all these that we have around, or even going to a bank or a new invention. If I translate this into a threat, then it creates insecurity. Stress me, and then creates anxiety, phobia, or even panic. And this is where actually there is even a structural change in the system, because I would react maybe with anxiety or fear or panic. In my view, you should respect what's happening here, because you see, because it's in most of you, or not all of you, of course, but very much related with economy, this is what happens in stress banks, in stress testing banks. We have what we say market psychology. This is all about, we create the anxiety and maybe fear, phobia, and then all these changes in how we appreciate what's happening in the market. Stress is a very important parameter. You may see some numbers here, but we must say that health is very important for the productivity. Here is about stress at work, but imagine this as a stress in the society. That's why I find it very interesting to try to see how this works when we implement new things like technology. I was thinking about these terms, and I had the impression, I'm not sure actually if this is presented, if it's something unique or if someone else talked about this. I'm sorry, I don't have any reference on that, but I thought it's a challenge. So if you're talking about digitalization versus digitalism, possibly the new term could be digitalism. How I would think about that? Digitalization could be a process. As a process is marvelous, is wonderful, and definitely is going to help and save lives, as I said in the beginning. And it was excellent, the comment by Professor Bitros, how we should not stop all this progress. If we stop that, we would have problems eventually. So digitalization as a process is an excellent thing because it provides advancement in many areas of life. So we should respect that as a tool. As a tool, facilitates a process. Though digitalism, I would see it as a system, and as a system, needs to have some rules. So I would consider that creating digitalism would be dangerous, or at least this is what produces anxiety. The tool becomes the status, the system. And of course, not many people fit into that, or it will take even couple of generations to embed this and be the new normal. And then it gave me the idea that globalization was a process as well. So are we thinking in terms of globalism? Another term maybe. It's a new system. It's not that simple to consider it as a process of facilitating trade or other advancements and expanding these, extrapolating all these advancements to the society worldwide. Again, in my view, we must be very careful when we talk about digitalism or globalism as systems that are going to digitalize, as we say, human life. Yes?
Iannis, can we think of digitalism and globalism as an ideology?
Exactly. When we are talking, thank you.
Or
Professor
better,
Petros.
excuse me, or better as a civilization.
Yes.
Or civilization, a new civilization, yes.
It's exactly what Professor, thank you very much. It's exactly what Professor Petros said earlier about bonding. 20 years ago, it would be an abnormal behavior. I would say this person has a problem. Abnormal, I don't like this, but just to not to get too specialized. A behavior that's not well functioned. Nowadays, you have question marks. Tomorrow, this may be a system. Could be ideology. I want to leave it in the economic terms, but in the terms of societal structure, yes, it could be, and it is, and in my view, it will be an ideology, a social structural ideology. So when it's going to be or what's happening, in my view, now we have a question mark. What it needs, in any case, and I'm not the specialist, the expert to talk about this, regulation. But actually, is it only regulation? Professor, sorry, his name, Professor, yesterday talked about this regulation that is going to be...
Economidis.
Yes.
Economidis.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, Professor Economidis. So he talked about this kind of regulation. There was a question actually I addressed to him, and he said we create or we need to create a body actually to produce regulation. And I was wondering, this is the tricky point. Is this regulation going to be in the US, in Europe, in China? Everyone is going to have his or its own regulation? Or is it going to be global? That is an even more serious question, because then the more global it becomes, of course, facilitates the common understanding, but creates the globalism as a societal system, as a structure with certain rules. And this is, allow me to say, it reminds me how GDPR was implemented. In my view, and with all due respect to the people who actually created that, developed that to facilitate our lives, in my view, this created actually the isolation of the victim. The victim doesn't know information that other people know it. Let me proceed. What happens then? I try to play a bit with the SWOT analysis, and allow me to say as well, again with all due respect, I don't know why is a square, should be a circle to allow pressures. It's like a ball. You have a pressure from here, from there. It may be skewed, but it's easily then in terms. Let's say we have strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. I would say that strengths and weaknesses, it's me. And opportunities and threats are in the environment. And I go back to the needs and expectations that I may have from the environment. So where is my opportunity in the way I may think? Or should I fit to the opportunities created for me? Or even the threats? What are the strengths? Should I fit to how society develops this new reality? Or this reality is going to obey to me? Of course, there is a smooth transition, but in my view, the intensity is quite strong and time is too fast. I will take the opportunity. Yesterday you had a marvelous panel. I enjoyed that, in the destructive effect of technology. And Mr. Pancharos, with his permission, I'm sure now, he showed a comment made by the Honorable Google CEO, who was wondering if things become too fast, and some people may not like this. With all due respect again, I would like to reply, yes, people do not like changes. It is a very serious stands because it's about survival. They feel that they lose control and security. Allow me to mention, they feel it. They don't think about this. So that is where the saying comes, better the devil you know. Now, imagine a society with all this SWOT analysis strength to be skewed. So I would say, developing Istamology, allow me to say a couple of things. We thought of, okay, there are some principles. We have the interaction becomes a habit. This habit turns to automation, and this is where we are. If I fit in that automation, it's excellent. That could be a progress. But what about people who cannot follow that? Because it starts to become too strict, maybe, or too fast. Even good things, if they become fast, they create a kind of anxiety. So in this case, we may have structural changes. We keep that in order to see how we may secure the stability in the processes, organizations, and society as well. So what we suggest maybe is, in terms of management, maybe, we talked about this last year in Icabe, again having the opportunity, and thanks for that. We thought about syntactics. So we're talking about tactics, but we all cooperate in those. That's why we have the scene. And try to create something that there is a difference with the strategy. Strategy comes from the Greek words stratos and ago. So I lead the army, and I was wondering nowadays, who is the leader of the army? I was wondering again, what is the army? Is it the technology? So we need to be very careful. Technology always advances things. That's for sure, because they are accepted more or less by the society. But who leads that? And this is where it comes with Professor Economides, we were talking earlier about the regulatory body. Who and how? And this will give the syntactics, the syntactication in order to see how it would proceed. Now, so we have two aspects to arrange. The cognitive ones, we need to have explicit processes and procedures, and most importantly, to internalize these rules. This internalization is extremely important. And we have the emotional arrangement. This is where time readiness comes into force. If we are not ready for that, then we cannot have the development of trust. We don't have a unique or a good for all the people psychological culture. And this is where we may have the problems. So we may, of course, influence people and the culture. That is extremely, again, a concept quite interesting in my view. We have information. We have the regulatory influence, not about the institutions. I'm talking about the personal information and regulatory influence that someone has on me, and then I create my identity. So I was wondering, really, it's very important to discriminate between participate, take part, or belong. Imagine I would go for a question. If we were live, I would really ask this question and look all of you, and you would feel a bit strange. Allow me to ask that. In your families or friendships, or even companies, or even society, do you participate, you take part, or belong? In my view, when we belong somewhere, we have more productivity. If we just participate, it's like just, spend electricity and doing nothing. So take part, I have an opinion, but belong is the strongest feeling that I may have. Now, if these things do not work well, I wouldn't like to change into English that, so I thought I will insert this slide. Imagine all these things that are happening. On the left, top left side, I am okay, you are okay. On the top right-hand side, I am okay, you are not okay. At the bottom, on the right, we have I'm not okay, you are not okay. And on the left, at the bottom, I'm not okay, all of you are okay. So I think we are in the process of having this society right now. Some people are all over the place, but there is no default at the moment. Of course, any society could never have one default, the desirable one. But at least we all experience, even in our personal life, a good traveling in all these four places. But on the other hand, we should consider that, yes, there is a decent default for me as well. Because if it is not, then I may feel aggressive. And what aggressiveness means? Lack of trust, lack of socialization, and whatever actually progress it produces. So in this case, if we say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't manage to make it well, or something went wrong, how am I going to do that? When we are sorry, we keep in mind who is the other person. What were the wishes, expectations, and say, okay, that was wrong, I'm sorry, but I may compensate you, or just acknowledge that, or just show some empathy or emotional understanding. It's our choice how to say that. And I was wondering, most importantly, who is going to say that to some people that actually do not progress that way? So I will go on that. It's like I have a double-bind hypothesis, again, a little bit touched. In case of unclear strategy and communication, that the public does not understand something, we have a problem because we don't have a clear idea of who I am, what am I doing, where am I going. So then we have a weak ego faction. This is considered as well in an organization with the employees. How do they feel? The same is with society, the same with our families. So proceeding with that, we may consider even how there is maybe, just to become aware, how a brainwash strategy could be employed. First, to create insecurity and fear. Then, of course, we create a disorientation with security issues. And then, of course, we have the development of feelings of guilt, underestimation of self-control, and the need for care. This gradual process, after all, lead me to problem solution. It's like offer and demand. And then this gradual implementation of measures with postponements embeds the situation. This process of brainwashing, I showed that slide because I would like to mention that brainwashing strategies, I'm not considering that someone is doing that, but just to be aware, uses emotions rather than logic. Plus, emotions run faster. Okay. So, and what about the human resources we have in companies and organizations? That was my comment on that. I will try again to take a few things from games theory and interaction and implement some psychological thoughts on that. So we all have the need for motivation. We have a need, or we are motivated about something. These are developed by achievement, could be reached by achievement, affiliation, power. The parameters to achieve all those is cooperation and competition, or versus competition. I'm afraid that nowadays we have a big gap of people who become very rich, and that's good for them, and maybe for the society. And there is a discrepancy, like the problem was with all the industrial revolutions, that for quite a few years, there was a rise in poverty or even hunger, and then maybe was coming again in terms. Maybe other people are qualified to explain that, but we need to consider always not only competition, but cooperation as well. And the higher is the pressure and the threat, the less the motivation. How should I follow technology if I go that way? I know that I allow me for this a couple of more slides allow me to show. So risk is perceived and acted in two ways, as emotion and as an analysis. This is where is maybe the catch. Information involves analysis. Emotion involves need and motivation. This is maybe the key issue to be extrapolated, focusing on the public emotion in order to accept maybe all these radical changes that are happening right now. I would say that there was from the Wall Street movie, I always include that says the most valuable commodity I know is information. He said that. Gordon Greco, that was Greco, I don't remember, the leader there in the field. But in my view, it's how we get the information, how we handle the information, how we interpret this information. And most importantly, who? So, just to conclude, in the initial comments at the start of this, of Icabe, I was glad to hear, I think, I'm sure about that, Professor Stamatopoulou implemented philosophy in how we run the science. So that was a crucial dilemma. I was very glad to hear that because it's very crucial. So do we need actually more science into the application of philosophy, or more philosophy into the application of science? In my view, allow me to express my opinion, it's the second, because philosophy addresses the orientation of where I go, addresses all the unique concepts that lead humanity throughout the years. And of course, the way we progress with the help of technological or even any advancement we may have in hand. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share these thoughts with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ioannis. This is a very dense presentation, and it needs a lot of time to comprehend this thing. That's why Aristotle worked very many years to write his ethics, and you know, this book of his in ethics has become the Bible in courses of ethics across the US and across the world. I hope that with your presentation, some of us who attended will continue thinking about the issues you raised, and each one of us decide for himself the way to follow, and transfer these inclinations to new generations through teaching and research. Thank you all. I think we can close this session. It's 4:30, but I can stay if there are questions or comments or anything. We can stay for a few minutes more. What do you say, Lefteris?
Well, we have to connect to the other session because it's 4:30, and we have to get out and get in another link.
Okay.
So
Okay.